All right. Good morning, sir. I have John Hewitt. I'm Toriano Sanzoni. How's your day so far, sir?
Amazing. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you so much. It is a pleasure. I just want to jump right into it. So I remember Jackson Hewitt as a child. I'm dating myself because I asked some people don't remember Montgomery Wards, and it's funny because like, what's Montgomery Wards? Can you just tell us about before we jump into talking about dogs? Can you just tell us about your amazing who you are, where you're from, and how you just come, you know,
Sure, you are showing your age. Most people today, most Americans don't even remember Montgomery Ward. But yes, Jackson Hewitt was in Montgomery Ward starting in 1988. But I'll give you my 55-year career, long before you were thought of. I started, I started at University of Buffalo, working part-time for H&R Block.
okay.
Loved it. I loved it, and blessed to found out what I wanted to do very young in life. And 12 years later, was running 250 H&R Block locations, having a great time. And my dad had he had a public company. He was the CFO, and he bought one of the first Apples by mail in the 70s. And he liked the mainframe that was running his. He liked the Apple better than the mainframe that was running his public company. So we decided we should computerize taxes. So in 1981, we built the first tax software for an Apple computer. No one wanted it. Got blessed and found a company called Mel Jackson Tax Service in Virginia Beach. The biggest blessing is I moved my family there, and the weather there is a lot nicer than Buffalo.
Right.
So we opened Mel Jackson. We merged the two companies, changed the name to Jackson Hewitt, and grew it to today. It's the 23rd largest retail chain in the country, a 6,000 locations, so top 100 retail chain. I sold it in '97, and for $483 million. I had a 3 compete, but it didn't cover Canada, and because Jackson Hewitt's never gone to Canada. Having grown up in Buffalo, I knew Canadian taxes, so we opened Liberty Tax in Canada, and within 3 years became one of the top 100 retail chains in Canada. So now I've done it once in US, once in Canada. In 2000, came back to the United States. Now I had to compete against myself, my own name, my own software, my own system at Jackson Hewitt. And yet we grew faster than them and H&R Block combined. We opened 4,000 offices in 12 years. Again, a public company, again, worth $500 million. So I built two companies worth one 500 million, one a billion, 10,000 locations, brought in 5,200 franchises. And then I started Loyalty Brands. And with Loyalty Brands, it's a company with 8 different franchise systems. And the fastest growing is our mobile dog grooming business called Zoom Grooming. So that's my 55 years.
Wow. Let me ask you before we jump into just to talk about Zoom and grooming. Just because everyone, and thank you all for watching this live on Facebook Live. Thank you, John. It's tremendous. I've just been doing just research on you. For those that just myself and those that might be curious, when you were growing up, did you just ever think were you that lemonade stand kid? Was there something just influential when you were growing up that you just said, hey, one day this is what I want to do?
Always been very, very self-confident. And some people think of it as cocky, but like I tell my oldest son, you're as cocky as I am, but I'm proven. But I started my entrepreneurial career with a major loss when I was 4 years old. I lived up in the Buffalo, or actually Rochester, New York area, and when I was 4, and I received a snow sled for Christmas. And before the first Christmas morning was over, I went next door and sold it for 10 cents to the next door neighbor. Now, the good news is back then sleds were only $4, but My first transaction as an entrepreneur was not a high quality transaction.
So you knew early on you could feel you had an entrepreneurial spirit.
I always did things outside the norm and made money as long as I can remember. And I, I always thought I always knew I was going to get rich. Grew up poor, and I was so self-confident. I knew I was going to get rich. The mistake I made is I thought, well, I'll just get rich and become a millionaire and just go relax. But I learned along the way that the treasure at the end of the rainbow, when you get that millions of dollars in check, that's just anticlimactic. The journey is the joy. Life's short. You have to enjoy the journey.
I love that. I love that. So let me ask you this. And I'm gonna transition this into Zoom improvement. So you're in the 80s during the mall period. Malls, there's no Amazon, and I remember North Riverside Mall and, in Illinois, my grandmother religiously were there. I remember H&R Block. I remember, I'm sorry, I remember Jackson Hewitt and Montgomery Wars. I remember H&R Block was at Sears. And that's that transition before technology is just beginning, filing taxes electronically and all this other. So you've seen that, you've seen like the mall, mall, Amazon, technology, electronic taxes, COVID. You still, how have you navigated all this and you're still here? You just now that's what's gonna bring me into talking about what you're doing now. Like, how have you been managed? Because there's been many moguls that have not been able to, huge mega companies that have just fallen to the wayside and not been able to make it. How have you survived all this stuff?
Yeah, let me give you a couple other data points that you haven't thought about. Back when I was 4 years old, I saw in Rochester, New York, I saw that they didn't even, not only didn't they not have malls, they didn't have shopping centers. They didn't have shopping centers, so outdoor shopping centers. So they built when I was 1953 or 54, they built the first shopping center in Rochester, New York, about a mile from my house. And then when I started at Block in '69, not only did they not have computers, they didn't even have calculators. You had to use an ant machine. You had to pull the hand over an ant machine.
Wow.
So the technology transition and the society and the business world has changed so dramatically in my lifetime. That was 70 years ago. And it's just dramatic change. And I think I've always been a visionary, and I think part of it may be due to the fact that when I was 8 years old, I learned how to play chess. And when you play chess, you always have to think ahead, right? Whoever can think the most moves ahead is the likely winner. And I love chess because you have to make a mistake to lose. There's no luck in chess. In everything else I play, whether it's cards or a sport, there's luck involved, but there's zero luck in chess. But my visionary thinking may be due to the fact that at a very young age, I became a chess expert.
Wow. That is the best. I love it. You have to make a mistake to lose. There is no luck. So it's just pure calculation. I gotta ask, not sorry, but I gotta ask you another personal question. So like, was your mom and dad who would you say was your biggest influence in growing up? Like, to get this mentality, or how much of this just pure, just like, no, this is just God given.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite employees, their father died prematurely, and I asked them, "What do you wish? Do you have any regrets?" And they said, "Yeah, I wish I would have told him how I felt." And so that was 50 years ago. And let me see, not 50 years ago. That was about 1989. So about 35 years ago. And so I immediately wrote a letter to each of my parents saying, I know you're proud of me because Jackson Hewitt's a a $500 million company with, thousands of locations. And I know you're very proud of me, but I owe my success to you. And they each they each influenced me in different ways, right? And so there were a couple things in similar, but I wrote them each a letter. And I was fortunate enough that they lived so long that I got to write a second letter 25 years later to them. And I wrote them each a letter just to let them know, this is I have integrity. And you taught me that with my dad. I said, you need to always say you're going to do. And so, yeah, in life, they don't teach you in school. They don't teach you about the most important things in life. They don't teach you about God. They don't teach you about having a significant other, spouse. They don't teach you how to raise children, and they don't teach you how to get wealthy or
Mm.
how to use your money. And so the only lessons you have are your parents and the school of hard knocks.
Mm.
So I learned most of my lessons from the school of hard knocks by making so many mistakes. But yeah, the when all of my values, my principles came from God and my parents.
Wow. I love that. I love that. Um, can so you did all these different things, tax world. How did you even in your mind say, hey, I want to get involved in this dog? Because I mean, I was in the music industry for 20 plus years. And then in 2000, no one believed that this thing called the iPod and digital download would change our industry. And then one day we were all turning it, and then I said, hey, I'm going to create dog. I had no idea how massive this dog industry. I mean, I saw it go from 10 billion. Now they're saying it's close to $130 billion industry. It just grows so just aggressively. Can you tell us, one, how did you decide to get involved with this industry, and then tell us about zooming grooming?
Sure. Well, first of all, I decided to get out of tax, and this is blessing, not how smart I am. This is more of my blessings in my life, right? But I decided to get out of tax temporarily because I had a non-compete with Liberty Tax after I sold, and one of them had former employees. He had been an attorney with me, a franchise attorney with me at both Jackson Hewitt and at Liberty Tax, and he was out on his. He was running. He was uh, he was working for 35 different franchisors. And he said, John, why are you going to back in tax? Why don't you have a franchisor that has after 13 years only has 13 locations, and they're they have a great system. They just can't bring in new franchise, and that's what you're good at. You've already brought in 5,000 franchisees. Why don't you help them and make a deal with them? And so we began acquiring firms, and immediately, and I said, yeah, that seems like a good idea. And I compete, so I didn't have anything to do in tax for a couple of years. So we went out and acquired some firms, and I just stumbled on the pet world. And by one of my people said, what about mobile pet grooming? And I said, aha, that makes so much sense because, again, if you go back to my life, early in my life, there was no delivery businesses back in the 50s. Federal Express didn't even exist, right? So, and there was no such thing as pizza delivery, or there was no Amazon. There was no delivery business. And yet, over the last 50 years, I mean, virtually every industry now has delivery, whether it's dog food. Amazon does everything, virtually everything, right? And you have Chewy with dog food. Every pizza, you can't exist in the pizza world without delivery service. And then you have Uber Eats and all those delivery food services. And I don't go to the grocery store. I order everything from Amazon. So it's a perfect time for mobile. And by the way, people love their pets. And that was actually accentuated during COVID. COVID propelled 10% more Americans to get dogs. And so the industry is expanding. People love their pets more than today. If you do a survey of parents that have children and pets, more than half of the parents say they like the pet better than the children.
Wow.
So, and they spend so much money on their pets and taking care of their pets. And where else in the world are you going to get unconditional love besides your pet, right? Your dog. So, yeah, I just stumbled into it and arrived at a great place. And it's the industry is growing. Not only is everything pet is growing rapidly, and grooming is switching from storefronts to mobile, and we're doing other things, pets too. We're looking at dog walking and pet sitting and training and insurance and everything pet. It's just a
Wow.
great. I love the pet industry.
John, I mean, you being an expert, you saw what you've done with your other franchises. Now, obviously, no one can deny that you came into this market 3 years ago and you went from one grooming mobile to 100. So obviously, there's no one out there that's going to contest your resume. Period. Now they can't even contest your resume. As you said earlier, you told your son, "I'm not cocky. I prove it." You prove it. You're backing it up, right? So where do you see where do you see pet grooming number one going this time? 4 years from now, and then where do you see the animal the pet industry going? Because it's 130 billion right now. So how do you, based upon your past experience, where do you see Zoom and grooming going, and then where do you see the pet industry as a whole?
And most experts that economic expert are predicting it's going to double over the next 7 years. The pet industry, everything pet. And what, as far as our company, we have 100. We just have our 100th franchisee and our 100th van, and we will double that every 6 months for a while.
Wow.
And we will have, just as I built 4,000 locations at Liberty in 12 years, in another 5 years, we'll have about 3,000 vans around the country. We'll be a household name.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Thank
And
that.
we just got 100 this month. So, but in 5 years, we'll have 3,000.
Wow. Wow. That just gave me shivers. Wow. That's so, and because as you said, people, and I know this too, just in dog training during COVID, everyone went out and got a dog. Dog sales went up 300%. There's so many puppies, and people went and got these small little dogs like the Yorkie Poos and Labradoodles and things that must be groomed. They get mad and create medical problems. So that's definitely coming up. So people thank you all for watching. There's a lot of amazing people that are watching us live right now on Facebook. Thank you so much. I'm interviewing John Hewitt, the founder, Jackson Hewitt, founder of Liberty, taxes and loyalty brand, and just, I mean, this is a treat. Thank you. It's your entrepreneur spirit is inspirational. So let me ask you this. So what is it that a person would need to do? Like, because everyone's out there right now, I want to start a new business. I want to get involved. There's a lot of people that are buying franchise. They're going into the food business. They're going into different. They have retirement. They might not necessarily want to own be there in the office every day, but they want to own it and hire someone. What's what's something that for our viewers that might be interested? What would they expect? How could they get involved?
In franchising in general,
No, not
so
franchising, but specifically Zooming Group. Zooming Grooming.
yeah, we're real easy to find. We're on just go on the web and look up either loyalty brands or Zoom and Grooming. It's
Okay.
easy to I mean, with this beauty of Google, you can find us in 2 seconds, right? So yeah, that's easy to contact, and we walk you through the process. Now I've brought in over 5,200 franchisees, So I don't know any other human being that's done that. There probably are some, but I never met anyone else that's brought in 5,200 franchisees who had hundreds of thousands of employees, changed thousands of people's lives, and created 1,000 millionaires.
Wow.
And the journey that is free to your listeners if they want one. They can just send me an email at john@loyaltybrands.com, and I'll send them a free book, bestseller on Amazon. You can pay for it, but I'll send it to you for free. And if you like, ask for a signed copy. I'll even send you a signed copy.
Wow, what a treat. You hear that from John at loyaltybrands.com and reach out. What a phenomenal. I'm definitely gonna do that. But let me ask you this. What are some because you've been building franchisees, you've been basically building entrepreneurs. It's not just you're building a franchisee, you're building an entrepreneur. What are some things that you just know right away? Like, yeah, because this person's an actual entrepreneur, or this person's kind of like, you probably are a W-2. You like you can get there one day, but these are steps. What are some things when you just see someone who's like, or that this is entrepreneur like prerequisites? These are things that you really want to do this for yourself. These are some things that you need to have in.
That's an important question because 2/3 of Americans want to be self-employed, but half of them aren't good at it. They either don't have the risk tolerance, or they're not self-started, or even though they own a business, they don't act like an owner, they act like an employee. When you have a business, there's no one there looking over your shoulder saying, you got to be at work at this time, you have to do this quality. And so that's a big thing that we look for. And in my career, out of the 5,200 that I brought in, probably 10% of them never should have tried. Because they just do not, they're missing something. They're missing self-starting. They don't understand this simple, they do not understand the 10 most important two-letter words. The 10 most important two-letter words. If it is to be, it is up to me. And as an employee, you can get by with screwing up. But when you're the boss, when you have your own business, you're CEO, the buck stops here, right? No one else to blame, no one else to help you. You have to do it on your own. And if it is to be, it is up to me. So that's everyone that wants to be an entrepreneur needs to think about that, whether they can, and if I were most people, I would put my toe in. There's some business that we have, like Zoomin, that you can keep your day job, and it's only kind of a part-time job, right? Because most of our franchisees, out of our 100 franchisees, only 4 or 5 are groomers. 95 don't know how to groom. And so they hire groomers. So it's all about hiring and taking phone calls. You can start Zoom and grooming and keep your day job. So I would advise many people. So when I advise my franchise development team, the first thing you have to look for when someone inquires is, are they meant to be self-employed? There are several key yeses, right? Number one, yes, is they've already been self-employed before. Okay, so yes, they can do it. They've already been self-employed before. Secondly, it runs in the family. Their parents were self-employed, and even better, they worked in their parents' business. And so we look for characteristics, and we ask questions to ensure they're meant to be self-employed. That's the first thing we look for. Because if they're not, then, I always want what's best for every person. And if it's not best for you, then go find somewhere else to be extraordinary.
Wow. I'm living with that phrase. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. What a powerful phrase. Let me ask you this. You said something, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said they don't have the risk tolerance.
Right.
Can you just, I have an idea. I just want those, I want to talk about that.
Well, every person I've ever met faces adversity. It's not going to be smooth sailing. you're going to get knocked down, in some way that you can't even imagine, right?
Mm,
And Murphy's law is whatever can go wrong will go wrong at the worst possible moment.
mm,
So you're going to face adversity, and that about 25% or 30% of the would-be entrepreneurs get knocked down and they stay down. Oh, woe is me, and I can't handle this, and this happened to me. Well, you have to go into it understanding you are going to get knocked down, and the people that are the most successful have made the most mistakes. Some of it is our own doing, right?
mm,
Some of it is um, my mistakes caused my disaster, my own mistakes. So it's like in chess, if you make mistakes, the only way to lose is to make mistakes. But the key to losing in life and in business is lack of perseverance. Perseverance is more important than drive, intelligence, salesmanship, leadership. The most important attribute of success is perseverance. You're going to get down. Winners always get up.
mm. Wow. That's 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 super powerful, and thank you all for watching. There's present for watching right now. So that's how I feel towards just like, especially right now for people that are, 'cause some people are still just recovering from business by COVID. So that, as you pointed out, everything is going mobile, especially even like grooming, because some people just they can't get their dogs to their, the groomer and things of that nature. Um, but one thing I wanted to ask you too is that, were you into dogs growing up? Did you have a dog? What's your experience with dogs personally?
No, I never had a dog, and certainly today I travel 2 or 3 days a week, so it would be such, and I live alone, so it would be such a nuisance for the dog. And it's not fair. And even when I'm not traveling, I'm away from home for 10, 12 hours a day. So
Wow.
it's not fair to the pet. Um, Several of my girlfriends over the years had dogs that I liked and hung out with, but I've never owned a dog.
Wow. And I love that. But you're killing it in the dog game right now. I love that.
Exactly.
How let me ask you this, a couple more questions. I'll let you go. But every time, a lot of times people they start giving up on themselves because, like, oh, I'm at this age, I can't do it anymore, or I'm too old to learn this. And with your resume, and you're still going hard, you're traveling, you're moving hard. For those people that are out there that might be watching, saying like, "Hey, I've given up because I'm 50 or I'm 60, or I'm 70, and like now it's time for me to sit and think about going down to Marcos Island and retire, or like I now need to go to some place and just call it complete quits." And you're showing no signs of stopping at all right now. You're you're jumping into this industry, as you just pointed out, and it's doubling. I'm in it myself, and it's doubling. What's your motivation, and what do you say to people that are younger you in your age too, that are just like, slow down or quit?
Yeah, I think 90% plus of people want to retire and relax. And but again, when I talked about this a few minutes ago, that when I was young, I knew I was going to get rich, and I thought I would just retire. And then I realized, what would I do? That I'm a life master chess player, bridge player. I have hobbies, but there's nothing more fun or rewarding than improving lives. Our mission statement is having fun, improving lives. And each and every day, I'm improving lives. I had dinner last night with three couples, and they're interested. One of them's interested in our tax franchise. Two of them are interested in our Zoom and Grooming franchise. And some or all of them are going to become franchisees, and I'm going to change their life.
Mm.
And also, I'm at the peak of my wisdom and peak of my knowledge. And to go sit on a beach somewhere or on a golf course and just fool around, I'm just so wasting God gave me huge blessings. Huge. I didn't do this because I'm all that. I'm John Hewitt. I'm all that. I did that because of the blessings that I received that were massive. And to whom much is given, much is expected. And so I have to give back. And the funny thing is, it's wonderful. I was so surprised. Within the last month, I was going through Facebook, and there was Denzel Washington, and he said something that struck me as crazy. He said, the most selfish people in the world are people that give to others. And I said to myself, wow. And then he went on to say, truthfully, and that's because they're so happy. They're selfish because they're happy, because the only happiness is changing lives and improving the world. When you just taking to me is not happiness. That's gluttony. That's crazy. Giving is the most rewarding thing on the planet.
Wow. That's so phenomenal. I think that's super motivational for anyone that's watching. And your team, it's not just you two. Your team has been so amazing. I Gary's super cool, motivational, and Mary J. We just talking to her. I had her compliment, like you are just the most motivational person I've met. So it's not even just you. You've surrounded yourself around people that also have that same vibe. I just on a basic conversation, I got off the phone with her. It's like I feel so much better. It's just that energy and that and as you said, you've proven that over all these years to current day, and you're changing the pet industry that to me is so important. Like Johnny said, that our judgment, our culture will be judged how we treat our animals, and I think that is just so phenomenal that you're helping people. And that's a big deal too, because a lot of people, I tell you all the time, some people just don't have a car. People can't put their dog physically, they can't put the dog up, especially with bigger dogs. The fact that you're offering a service where you come into someone's home to help them groom their dog is phenomenal. In my hometown, Chicago, thank you for all my Chicagoans that are watching, and all my family and friends down in New Orleans, those are my two favorite cities. Reach out to Zoom and Grooming. Let's get some of these mobile vans in these key areas out there, because it's needed. And I tell people all the time, like with dog grooming, those are the ultimate dog trainers, because they have an animal on a table with their head inside of a noose, with scissors, with clippers. It takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of love, care. Clients now are very picky, about you know how they want their little puppy cut shape. So that's a phenomenal business to get involved in, because it's not going anywhere. It's the beginning of dog training, especially for these small little dogs that must be groomed. Uh, John, thank you so much for this phenomenal interview. Thank you, Facebook. We'll be sharing this on our YouTube channel along with two. It's on our Facebook, and I'll send you if you want to copy this. I'll send you the link. John, one more time, what website should they go to find out more about your franchising opportunities?
LoyaltyBrands.com. We stole it, and you talked about the reason it's loyalty is I've dozens of people that have been with me over 20 years.
And I can tell you, I hope to be in business as long as you, but in my period of time of doing business, I've not met anyone like you or your team. It's not even you, it's you and your team. It's just loyalty is a great way to say it in a nutshell. LoyaltyBrands.com. Thank you so much. I really appreciate interviewing you today. That you come on my podcast and big inspiration. So
My pleasure. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.